Today's Tuesday, March 3rd, 2026, and do you hear that?
I think so.
This is Talkin Husky Hoops. I'm Mike Gizzi.
And I'm Will Jeong.
And it's about that time.
Yes.
The best time of the year. The madness is about to begin because it's March. And this is the 18th episode of Talkin Husky Hoops, where we talk all things UConn men's basketball, from game previews and game breakdowns to everything involving Hurley and the men's team. Like always, Will, how are you feeling today?
Feeling great. You know, this is the best month of the year after all, especially for a college basketball fan. The trumpets are ringing, vibes are high, and you know, it's a little bittersweet, you know, just to know that college basketball is nearing its end. But the best is still yet to come, and ultimately, it's still a great time to be a college basketball fan. Plenty of basketball, plenty of upsets, hopefully, plenty of victories, and who knows what's to come. That's the best part of this month.
Definitely. But without further ado, let's just hop right into it.
Yes.
Saturday, February 28th, the Huskies took down the Seton Hall Pirates in a Senior Day Classic by a final score of 71-67. Seniors were honored before the game, and most notably, forward Alex Caravan was surprised with his banner being hung in the Huskies of Honor after his legendary UConn career came to a close in Gamble Pavilion. Let's take a look at the video.
Fans, for the first time in UConn men's basketball history, an active Husky player will join the ranks of the program's legends, the winningest player in program history and holder of a slew of UConn records. He has made the most starts in program history and is steps away from the top 10 on the all-time scoring list, while trending towards records for games played, minutes logged, and three-pointers made. Please welcome the newest Husky of Honor, number 11, Alex Caravan.
Just an awesome moment right there. And I think the best part about it, honestly, is just seeing the national recognition that Alex Caravan has been getting. You know, over the past week, I've been watching a bunch of different news outlets, different sources of media covering Alex Caravan's incredible story. Yes, TikTok edits. And just to see everyone really just admiring the story that Caravan has had with this organization. And, you know, it's really a rare thing nowadays in college basketball to be there for 4 years and grow with the program. So really awesome to see it.
Definitely. I think, you know what, we won't even hesitate. We'll call that our moment of the week.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, there's nothing better that you can have than that moment right there.
Absolutely.
So,
and you know, what better of a moment to follow that up with just an awesome performance all around. Caravan would tie his season-high 23 points in the victory over Seton Hall, shooting 5 or 6 from beyond the arc and 8 for 11 for the field.
Yeah, I mean, he looked automatic when the ball was leaving his hands. Truly a magical game for him to really close out his Husky career at Gamble, where he spent the last 4 years absolutely dominating. But moving on to some other performances. Solo Ball was second in scoring for the Huskies with 14 points, 6 of which were big free throws in the final minutes that really helped UConn towards that win. He actually scored 12 in the second half as well. 2 early threes to really kick off the Huskies scoring after the half.
Yeah, looking at Seton Hall, A.J. Sutton-McCray scored 20 for the Pirates, went 4 for 8 from beyond the arc. Seton Hall's three-point shooting, I believe they shot 50%. It was honestly really impressive. They also went on a 12-3 run in the second half. They were, automatic, and it was a little bit demoralizing, honestly, for the crowd at least. But it was a pretty impressive showing for Seton Hall.
Definitely. I mean, but UConn didn't really let up. Right after they went on a 10-0 run of their own and really got that lead back after Braylon Mullins hit a three, or Braylon Mullins hit a three that was after a few Alex Caravan threes that really got the crowd back on their feet and back and cheering after that demoralizing, as you stated, Seton Hall run.
Yes.
I mean, Seton Hall had 3 players foul out down the stretch, which ultimately led to a plethora of UConn free throws, as I mentioned, from Solo Ball, which helped them close us out by a final score of 71-67 on a Senior Day victory.
Absolutely. It's all around a feel-good win, especially for Caravan, this group. and it's good to end their home stint on a high note.
Definitely, especially after the last one at Camp Pavilion.
Yes.
All right, let's move on to some news now. Terrace Reed Jr. and Alex Caravan were both named to the Big East Honor Roll this week. Terrace had 2 double-doubles last week, one of which led UConn to a victory over St. John's, while Caravan had 14 in that game, and also his big game on Saturday that led them to a win over Seton Hall.
Yeah, absolutely. Well-deserved. In addition to that game, Caravan also entered the top 10 scorers in UConn program history, just moving behind Kemba Walker with 1,752 career points as a Husky. I'm sure most likely he'll be able to move up a couple more spots before it's all said and done, but really awesome to see.
Definitely. All right, those were some great honors from last week and some big news, but you know what? As we said, it's March. Let's start to move into some scenarios and some seeding implications and, talk about what's really going to matter moving into the later points of this month.
Yeah, for sure. So the Big East is starting to wrap up. This is the last week of conference games, and it's really starting to come down to the wire. So as of now, UConn and St. John's are both tied at 17-2 in conference standings. Currently, UConn is half a game in first place, but St. John's is still yet to play. At the time of recording this, they face Georgetown tonight. So in terms of scenarios, it's a little bit over the place, but there are certain ways that UConn can get a 1 seed, UConn can fall to a 2 seed, St. John's can get a 1 seed. It's kind of all over the place. So ultimately, it comes down to Providence and Creighton, the 2 teams that UConn and St. John's lost to respectively, since they both have 2 conference losses. So Providence was able to defeat Creighton this past weekend, meaning they have a 2-0 head-to-head matchup. So it ultimately comes down to who will finish ahead in Big East rankings, and that's going to decide who gets the 1 seed in the Big East tournament. If both teams finish 18-2, then they will share a regular season Big East title. But in terms of seeding implications, it's kind of hard to gauge right now, but I'm sure, of course, by next week we'll have the full picture.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is, by the way, when we say 1 seed, we mean 1 seed to clinch the regular season Big East title, not 1 seed when it comes to March Madness.
Absolutely.
Now let's move on to some AP poll talk.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, UConn, after a big week last week, moves up to number 4, really regaining their spot, or not regaining their spot, but maybe amplifying their spot of being a potential 1 seed.
Yes.
And the NCAA tournament
Yes.
that'll happen later this month. On top of that, other UConn opponents, Arizona remains at 2.
Yes.
Florida jumps up 2 spots and is still right behind UConn at 5. Michigan State, who UConn played in the preseason, technically doesn't count towards the record, jumped up 5 spots after, I think, defeating Purdue last week.
Yes.
And they are now at number 8. Illinois dropped a spot and is now at 11. Kansas remains at 14. And St. John's falls to 18. And also, BYU falls out of the top 25, but sits right on the cusp at 26.
Yeah, for sure. Overall, again, AP poll starts to get a little less important as we get closer to the seeding, but ultimately it's just good to see how the voters are responding to at least how UConn's performed in the past week. Big victory over St. John's. I think the moving up 2 spots is definitely warranted. And
Quad one win over Seton Hall on a team that's just on the cusp.
Yes,
right
but ultimately, it's crunch time. So
definitely. Let's move on to a bit of that bracket talk, though.
Yeah.
We mentioned that UConn kind of regained their spot as a 1 seed after their last week of play.
Yes.
They're currently projected by Joe Lenardi in his men's bracketology to land as a 1 seed in the South region,
Yes.
taking on the potential 16 seed or the winner of the play-in game of Long Island versus UMBC, which I don't really like the idea of, considering UMBC as the team is one of the 2 teams to be a 16 seed to upset a 1 seed in the past. They did it in 2018 against Virginia. So let's hope that UConn does not have to see UMBC in the first round of the NCAA tournament. But besides that, looking at possible or potential UConn opponents in their sector of the bracket,
Yes.
they see former opponent in last year's tournament and earlier this year, Florida as the number 2 seed. Another former opponent this year, BYU with the 6, Purdue at the 3, Texas Tech at the 4, and Arkansas at the 5. those are the real big opponents that when I look at, I seem to think, okay, they're a bit more of a, tough road and not the easiest teams to defeat.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, this is all just a projection.
Hypothetically, this is all
Yes.
hypothetical. There's multiple different projections. I think in CBS's projections, they have UConn in the South as well, projected to play the 16th seed Merrimack.
Yeah, but if you want to just take a gauge on what UConn might have to face later in the tournament, teams along that line are going to be something to look for in terms of at least a path to Indianapolis or future games.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, UConn not looking too bad right now, and definitely, we're going to need to close this one out with the last game on Saturday that we'll get into in a minute. And in the Big East tournament, take that home so they can secure their role as a 1 seed in this tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. And so with that, this Saturday, after a week's rest, the Huskies will round out the regular season as they head to Milwaukee to face the Marquette Golden Eagles at the Fiserv Forum.
Yeah, I mean, on the season, the Golden Eagles are currently tied for last place in the Big East. Definitely not where they want to be sat at 5-13, 10-19 overall. Last time out, the Huskies took down Marquette in their first contest at Gamble Pavilion by a final score of 73-57. A sound victory for the Huskies where Marquette never led.
Yeah. Nigel James Jr. and Chase Ross led the Golden Eagles in the last contest. They have led all season in terms of scoring. Last time they scored 15 and 11 respectively, but overall it was just a struggling game for Marquette. They struggled from the field, shooting 32% overall. It's kind of been, indicative of their season so far.
Yeah, I mean, last time out for the Huskies, though, the guards led the matchup for them. Solo Ball and Silas Demery Jr. scored 17 and 14 respectively on over 50% shooting. Terrace Reed also had himself a night, notching 12 points on 9 boards with 2 steals and 2 blocks. I mean, every game now matters, as we've stated,
Yes.
and this is, one that the Huskies really need to, tidy things up and to close it out all nice and neat before they head into the Big East tournament and March Madness.
Yeah, for sure. So, again, UConn right now is projected to be the last 1 seed, but, there's still a lot of national talk about what's happening. Are there concerns, maybe? I mean, I think the only thing would be maybe consistency. We've seen the Huskies peak, we've seen some valleys, but at, various points of the season, now is really a good time as the last game to establish, what is this team, what are they capable of, and I guess what the future's going to look like.
Yeah, I mean, Dan Hurley said it on when he was having an interview with John Rothstein.
Yes.
People underestimate UConn simply because they played close with Big East teams.
Yeah.
The Big East is a scrappy conference.
Yes.
It's definitely not wellly portrayed by maybe the records of teams in it, and that it doesn't give them the biggest of helpings when it comes to looking at certain rankings like KenPom and the net. But that's why when I look at polls like the AP poll, I like the AP poll because it tells the whole story. People know UConn is a program that is serious and they will win games, as we saw earlier in the season in their non-conference schedule. So when it comes to maybe concerns, the only concern that I have is possibly not seeing UConn have played one of those top teams besides St. John's in a more recent time period. So maybe did they forget how to, play against a team like Florida or Arizona, Kansas,
Yeah, absolutely. But regardless, Marquette is this one last opportunity for, UConn to maybe reset, again, tidy things up, make sure everything is good to go, because, after this, every game matters.
There's no time for mistakes after this.
No, not at all.
And so, yeah, I mean, with that, tune in on Fox this Saturday, March 7th at 12:30 as the Huskies take on the Golden Eagles of Marquette in their final matchup in Milwaukee.
Yes.
With that, thank you for watching this episode of Talkin Husky Hoops. We'll be back next week as we break down UConn's matchup against Marquette and further preview UConn's road in the Big East tournament and future March Madness desires and hopes and dreams and everything that comes in just a few weeks' time.
Chaos.
I'm extremely excited.
Chaos is about to ensue.
Definitely. But for now, I'm Mike Gizzi.
And I'm Will Jeong, UCTV Sports.
Go Huskies.